All right, folks, it's time for the Malzberg panel. Following Dick Morris, joining us right here is Democratic political consultant and political strategist at Douglas Schoen LLC, Jessica Tarlov, and senior partner at Adam M. Thompson Law and syndicated talk show host, TV commentator, and I'm running out of time to say the rest, Adam M. Thompson. All right, welcome to both of you. The president speaking about Ebola. And basically, Jessica, he's saying that we have to fight it at the source. We have to do what's best to go to Africa and fight it there so it won't come here. And he's defending the loosening of the restrictions. He's defending the CDC's new quote-unquote protocols, where there is no mandatory quarantine for anybody coming back with exposure to Ebola, whether they've treated patients or whatever. And I just don't get that. Shouldn't our first concern be about protecting? I mean, does he want to take them to live in the White House? That's fine. But if he wants them to roam the streets of New York City or other cities after they come back from treating Ebola patients, I have a problem with that.
I have a problem with that too, but I don't think that's what the president is saying. I think that he is trying to lower the level of hysteria. There are reports coming out now that it's airborne. It isn't airborne, that it'll survive on surfaces. It'll survive on surfaces below 39 degrees in labs. I mean, I'm not saying that Ebola isn't serious. It's incredibly serious, but I think that people want to be hysterical about this, especially Republicans heading into the midterms next week. I mean, Obama has not done a great job with this. He's done, I think, as well as maybe he could have. It's unforeseen circumstances that we were going to end up with an Ebola outbreak in America. But to say that he's doing as bad of a job as people are making it out to be, I think does miss the point.
Adam, have you seen the Ebola czar? I haven't seen hide nor hair of him.
I don't know. Maybe he's going to surface at Halloween. I don't know what's going on, but he's nowhere to be found. And Obama hasn't handled this well, and the CDC hasn't handled this well. There's a lot of confusion on how it spreads, what it is, and the fact that there's that confusion on it means that the message hasn't gotten out in press releases. There hasn't been a good press conference about it to really educate the public. Therefore, there's this confusion and this fear. So regardless of how it spreads, how serious it really ultimately is, the White House has to lead in this situation, and they have to quash the fears. The best way to quash the fears, whether it's going to become widespread or not, is keep it out of the country as best as you can. There's nothing wrong with a quarantine. It's just common sense. If we want to send aid workers to Africa to help out, I applaud that. That's what should happen. But there's no problem doing restrictions on people coming back, quarantine them, watch them to make sure it doesn't spread.
And Jessica, here's
common sense.
Here's what really gets me. Ed Henry pressed Josh Earnest yesterday over and over about a policy. He said, how could you have sent our military? How could the commander-in-chief have sent our military into the Ebola hot zone, and to this moment you say, well, we don't know what's going to happen to them when they come back. We don't know if they'll be isolated. We don't know what to do with them. How is that possible?
Well, it's possible because it happened. But I'm not saying that it should have, and I think that Josh Earnest has some more questions to answer, and obviously he's not getting the right information.
It's the president who has the questions to answer.
But he doesn't have to be the mouthpiece, unfortunately. I mean, if we had a little bit more accountability on that level, I think we would see less press conferences that aren't doing much to satisfy the fears that Americans are having. But I think people need to take a step back for a second and really think about how difficult the situation is. I know that he's the president, he's the most powerful man in the world, but he doesn't have all the answers, and we should see more of the czar. I am not disagreeing with that at all. But it's just a pile-on that doesn't help anyone. We have sick people. We have
You mean like Katrina? That kind of a pile-on? I mean, George Bush flew over the site of a natural disaster, and he was the worst man in the world who wanted to kill black people. I mean, the Democrats didn't spare him, or the media for that matter, one little iota.
Well, no, they didn't, and it's politics, and that happens, and I think that it's wrong. I thought it was wrong when it happened with George Bush, and I think it's wrong when it happens with President Obama.
All right, let me ask you this, Adam. There's a story out, it's more than a story. Congressman Bob Goodlatte, chairman of the House Judiciary Committee, said that he has learned, he's received information from within the administration that the plans are being developed so that non-U.S. citizens will be brought to this country to be treated for Ebola. In other words, they will have Ebola, they will be brought to this country and put in American hospitals and treated for Ebola. Isn't that a wonderful idea?
Goes from the absurd to the unreal. It makes no sense. Listen, we don't want to bring it into our country. If we're concerned with other nations or locations that have this problem, get military teams together, send them to that location, set up a nice facility there, and start treating people at that location. And then when our military people and trained staff are ready, come back, quarantine them, check them out, let them come back in the population.
Got a
to bring them here is insane.
Any problem with what Adam just described, Jessica?
I mean, a little bit of a problem, and that's just a rumor at this point. I mean, if it goes through, that's one thing, but at this point, I mean, this is just...
So if it goes through, you'd be upset.
I'm interested in talking about travel bans. I'm interested in keeping Ebola out of the country. Americans are a top priority, but we are the greatest nation in the world. We are responsible to do as much good as we possibly can, and that does involve helping to fight Ebola all over the world.
As doctors say, first cause no harm, and that means to Americans and the president's jobs to keep Americans safe. We'll come back with both of you, but next, author and filmmaker Dinesh D'Souza. Don't go away.